Hello there. Today I'm taking a look at a wine from New York State's Long Island. This is Wölffer Estate Sagaponack Red Table Wine. It's the 2013 vintage of that. And Sagaponack is the location of the winery. The winery is particularly in the Hamptons, which I believe is in the North Fork of Long Island. The wine is from the winery's gold label range, and the belief is that after 2014 it became labelled simply as the classic red. I mean, maybe Sagaponack was a name that didn't trip off the tongue for consumers. I could be wrong, but I noticed that the classic red started being produced in 2014. The estate is one of the older and better known wineries in Long Island. It was established in 1987 by Christian Wölffer, and they started planting the year following, and the first vintage they released was 1991. They're probably best known for producing rosés, but they also have a stable as part of the enterprises, hence the emblem of the horse on the labels. The winery was joined in 1992 by somebody called Romain Roth, and he joined as the winemaker and has been there ever since. Romain grew up in Germany and learned his winemaking there. He was the son of somebody who was both a vintner and a cooper. Today, Romain is a partner in the business, and he runs the estate along with brother and sister Mark and Joey Wölffer. The estate currently has about 170 acres of vineyards in Long Island, amongst which there's the 55 hectares at Sagaponack, which surrounds the winery, and those are run, and have been for 6 or 7 years now, entirely sustainably. They're certified for sustainable viticulture. And the company is also contracted with growers who own a further 338 acres of Long Island vineyards. The new generation have also expanded the company beyond Long Island, so today there are Wölffer vineyards in Argentina, in Spain and in Provence. I think this is largely to enable them to harness the demand that they get for their rosés, which are hugely popular wines. Their winery is about 2.6 miles from the Atlantic Ocean, giving them a very maritime influenced climate, with the being moderated by the proximity to the sea. And Long Island is often compared to Bordeaux as a wine producing region for just this reason. Soils here are what's known as Bridgehampton loam. I'm assuming that's fairly well drained, but I don't know a lot about that. The winemaking here is described as being quite traditional. The fruit is entirely destemmed. Fermentation goes on in stainless steel tanks and open-topped bins, and the different varieties are kept and fermented separately by their vineyard plot. Maceration will go on for 2 to 3 weeks in total. At the height of fermentation, there will be pump-overs and push-downs going on up to 3 times a day to ensure the extraction of colour, flavour and tannins from the skins of the grapes. Maceration will go on for 2 to 3 weeks, at the end of which the wine is drained into an upright oak fermenter and goes through its malolactic conversion before being put into barrique to age. The winery uses predominantly French oak, with a proportion of the oak for this, probably 15-20%, being new oak, so the majority of it being older oak, so very little obvious sort of cedary and vanilla influence coming here. The wine stayed in barrel for 7 months before the blend was assembled, went back to barrel. The wine was racked 3 times before being bottled in the January of 2015. Blend for this wine is 42% Merlot, 29% Cabernet Sauvignon, 24% Cabernet Franc, and there's 5% of Petit Verdot in here. 2013 is a really highly reputed vintage for Long Island. In fact, I've seen Romain Roth compare 2013 to 1945, so I'm assuming he means 1945 in Bordeaux, which was one of the greatest vintages ever. So let's have a look at the wine, shall we? See what we make of it. It's quite apparent initially that this is a wine with fair age. There's a really quite developed brick red note at the rim. There's a dark, fairly deep, almost opaque ruby red colour. But as I say, it's becoming that bit more developed and bricky to the rim. The wine has just 13% alcohol, and although it does cling to the side of the glass a little, it's not forming tears rapidly or heavily. So let's see what we make of the aromas, shall we? Instantly, the nose is showing developed aromas. There is a sort of a fairly dusty note, and that denotes tannins that have perhaps been extracted from the pips during fermentation. But there are notes of mushroom, truffle, earthiness, dried leaves, quite savoury, quite developed. Behind that there's a plummy red fruit, which seems to have some quite nice ripeness. There may be slightly leafy touches, so let's have a taste. On the palate, the wine is very well together and it's very developed. It's got a lot of those sort of savoury mushroom notes, dried leaf, truffle. There's quite good structure. The tannins are quite velvety. They're certainly not astringent. There's a lovely sort of almost silky smoothness to them. There's a little bit of warmth coming from the alcohol, and that's peaking up the ripeness of the sort of the red berry fruit. There's just a tiny touch of sort of perhaps raspberry note before it moves into a more sort of developed red plum note. You might say there's a sort of a slight prune over-ripeness to it as well, giving slight high tone notes to the end. The acidity seems balanced, the alcohol certainly seems well in balance, and the wine is very harmonious. There is no oaks standing out on this at all, certainly. Finish is savoury. There's almost a slight touch of rich licorice to it. The wine is medium-bodied, and it's not hugely dense, to be honest. It's got this nice velvety tannic structure. There's a fair freshness at the end that gives a reasonable length, but that combines with the warmth of the alcohol and the ripeness of the fruit to give a sort of a nicely rounded, harmonious finish. And just at the end you get these slight touches of earthiness and dried leaves. It's a fully mature wine with a style not unlike that of a Bordeaux. Maybe it hasn't perhaps quite got the same freshness of acidity that you get with a Bordeaux, but it's not far off. Wine could be kept for another year or two, but I don't think it's going to improve much after that, and the fruit will be in full decline. Currently, that's drinking really nicely, and just its harmony is lovely to see. It's a well-made wine that I've really enjoyed. So I hope you found this tasting interesting. If you have, do please like it below. Do feel free to share it with your friends if you think they'd be interested to see it as well. Do please leave your comments. I'd love to hear what you think about either the wines, the videos we're doing, or anything else that's related to that. If you could, do sign up and follow us on YouTube. That would be fantastic. And then that way, hopefully we'll see you again for another tasting in the near future. Thanks again. Bye for now.